Hi everybody, welcome to Bookies. Thanks for clicking on the link. You've reached the only YouTube channel that, when fully monetized, will provide 100% of the proceeds to local libraries and literacy programs. So if that sounds good to you, please subscribe. Our Missing Hearts is a book about a mother's profound love for her son, Bert Gardner. Bird lives with his dad, who was a linguistic professor at an unnamed college in Boston or Cambridge, Harvard, who was demoted to basically shelve books in a library because he was married to a woman who the government deemed a dissident. She wrote a subversive poem called Our Missing Hearts, which was about missing children. And the interesting thing here is that Bird's mom didn't really intend for her poem to be any kind of statement against the government, but it was picked up by that dissident movement, and so it became what it is. Having been labeled a dissident, Bird's mom flees. Bird was 9 when his mom left home, and he's living with his father, but he doesn't understand his father. He doesn't understand why his father won't talk to him about his mom or why she left. He doesn't understand why his dad is telling him to lay low, don't stand out. He doesn't understand any of this, but he has to find out why. This is a no spoiler review, so I'm not going to tell you any more about the plot. I will tell you that in general, the novel could be described as dystopian along the lines of 1984, Fahrenheit 451. And in that regard, I find it interesting that in that genre of dystopian novels, nobody has ever thought to write the novel from the perspective of a child. And Celeste Ng does that here, so that's quite unique. What I like about this particular novel is that Celeste Ng is presenting truth through storytelling. And the truth is that regimes get traction when economics go bad. And the truth is that authoritarian regimes typically get even more traction by promoting a good so the people will ignore the means of the good that are achieved. This particular fictional American regime takes away children from parents that they deemed dissidents. And that causes parents to self-censor, to don't speak out against the government for fear of losing their children. This regime has also got a scapegoat. It's scapegoating Chinese Americans in particular due to a Chinese communist threat. And hey, while you're at it, let's just scapegoat all Asians because they all look the same, right? It's disgusting, but that's the way this regime works. And we've seen this before. This is basically Nazi Germany prior to World War II and during World War II. But what I notice in a lot of book reviews, people never talk about how the book makes them feel. I honestly think that the best literature causes the reader to feel something. And in this case, Ng did a little work on me. I felt the emotion of anger. It angers me at the thought that a government would abuse children and remove them from their parents in order to keep everybody in line. That upsets me. As a parent of 7, that really gets under my skin. Also, very upset by the scapegoating and the racial animus that's shown in this particular novel. And then last thing I'll say is that it causes a little bit of a self-examination. What would you do as a parent in this situation? Would you stay quiet and not say anything against the government for fear that your children will be removed from you? Because only you can love your children best. Or would you be bold and stand forward and take that risk? I honestly don't know. I asked myself the question, and my children are the most precious thing to me. And so, that's a pretty strong motivation to just lay low and stay quiet. And if that is the decision I would make in that situation, that's frustrating. And even that upsets me because it's contrary to my nature. I actually can tend to be a little bit aggressive. Maybe it's the lawyer training, I don't know. But, the best of novels cause the reader to question what they would do in the very similar situation. So I really like that about this novel. Another great thing Celeste Ng has done in this novel, she causes the reader to admire those who do stand up against the regime, not because they necessarily wanted to, but because they had to. And you know, it's an interesting thing that when one is labeled a subversive, it kind of takes the handcuffs off because you're already a subversive, so you might as well object, you might as well protest, you might as well undermine. And so I really like that thought process that Ng created in me as I was reading this novel. Lastly, I really think Celeste Ng did a great job at just basic storytelling. You know, she didn't get in the way. I think one of the worst things an author can do is have a great story idea and then they get in the way of it with meaningless diversions or characters that don't matter or language that isn't appropriate to a character. All these things tend to muddy a great story, and Celeste Ng didn't do that. She didn't allow her talents to get in the way of the story. Ng's prose is understated, it's quiet, and it just needs to be for this particular story. And I kind of went back and forth about what rating to give this, and I think it lands at about a 4.25. I mean, keep in mind, I'm kind of a tough grader. I've given out 2 5s this whole year, and a 5 should just be so exceptional that you would read it again and again. You know, you should read this novel. It's worth your read, even if you don't like the idea of taking on the subject matter of a dystopian novel where you have an authoritarian government. Even if you don't like that, this novel will still appeal to you because it appeals to basic human emotions, basic right versus wrong. And with that, have a great day. God bless.